Hi everyone, it's Kelly here. Welcome back to my channel. It's lovely to have you here, whether you're old or new to this channel, welcome. And I've got some books to share with you today. Over the last couple of weeks, I have managed to acquire 9 new books. 4 of them came from Little Free Libraries, so they were a one in, one out kind of deal, so I was able to place some of my books that I've either read or am not interested in anymore, and a couple of my husband's into those Little Free Libraries, and I've got these 4 new books to show you. And also I have one book that was a gift from my cats, and 4 brand new books that have come from a couple of different places. So let me share them with you. Shall we start with the books that came from the Little Free Libraries? Because I'm always really excited when I see one of those. We all know what we're talking about here. The ones that people kind of set up themselves, or they might be with a community centre. It looks like kind of like a big letterbox, and inside are books that you can exchange. So I like to carry in the back of my car, have a box of books that I'm quite happy to part with, books that I've sort of culled or I've already read and I didn't like, I don't want to keep, or, you know, just didn't love and I know I'm not going to come back to again. So I keep those in the back of my car just in case I see a Little Free Library as I'm driving around. And this was the case. So just the other day I was out and about, and I saw a Little Free Library that I had never been to before. So, of course, I pulled over and went to explore and see what I could get. And I found 2 books at that Little Free Library. The first one is Beartown by Frederic Backman. I've been hearing a lot about Frederic Backman from a couple of booktubers that I follow. So I'm really interested to sort of see what the hype is about and whether it's something that will vibe with me. So you can imagine I was quite excited when I found a Frederic Backman book in a Little Free Library, because it cost me nothing to give it a go, except a book that I no longer want to own. So I'm quite cool with that. That's fine. So that was my first one. So Beartown is translated, I believe. I'm not sure from what language, but I believe that he's Swedish. So from Swedish, I would imagine, is the language that it's translated. And it's translated by Neil Smith. And it is set in a small town called Beartown. That is in a large forest. For most of the year, it is under a thick blanket of snow, experiencing the kind of cold and dark that brings people closer together or pulls them apart. Its isolation means that Beartown has been slowly shrinking with each passing year, but now the town is on the verge of an astonishing revival. A bright new future is just around the corner, until the day it is all put in jeopardy by a single brutal act. It divides the town into those who think it should be hushed up and forgotten, and those who'll risk the future to see justice done. At last it falls to one young person to find the courage to speak the truth that it seems no one else wants to hear. With the town's future at stake, no one can stand by or stay silent. Everyone is on one side or the other. Which side would you be on? So that is Beartown. It sounds like a fascinating premise, sort of toying with those ideas of justice and honesty and so on, and kind of the nuance of that, and that it is a bit more complicated sometimes than just saying what happened. So that sounds like a really, really interesting book that I'm keen to get to. The other book that I found in that same Little Free Library was The Memory Keeper's Daughter. Now, I've seen this book out and about. It's by Kim Edwards. I've seen this book. It was published some time ago. Let me see if I can see when exactly. 2005. So this is quite an old book, which sounds weird to say, but it's 2022. So it's quite an old book. But I have seen it out and about. However, I have never picked it up before to look at what it was about. So of course I was in this Little Free Library. I thought I'll have a look. When I say I was in the library, I was standing by the library. It's too small for me to fit in. Anyway, I read the blurb on the back, and it just sounded really fascinating. It also has a quote here from Sue Monk-Kidd, who is an author that I really enjoy reading or have enjoyed reading in the past. So that's another selling point for me. But let me tell you about it. This stunning novel begins on a winter night in 1964 when a blizzard forces Dr. David Henry to deliver his own twins. His son, born first, is perfectly healthy, but the doctor immediately recognizes that his daughter has Down syndrome. For motives he tells himself are good, he makes a split-second decision that will haunt all their lives forever. He asks his nurse, Caroline, to take the baby away to an institution. Instead, she disappears into another city to raise the child as her own. Compulsively readable and deeply moving, The Memory Keeper's Daughter is a brilliantly crafted story of parallel lives, familial secrets, and the redemptive power of love. So, sounds fascinating. I've literally just realized that that's a sticker on the front. Can I get it off? Let's see. It is. It is coming away. I thought it was part of the design on the front, but it's not. There we go. That's what it should look like. Okay, we'll throw that in the bin. That can go away. All right, so that's The Memory Keeper's Daughter. On a different day, I managed to acquire 2 other books in a different, and actually I can't recall. I know where one of them definitely comes from. The other one I'm not 100% sure, but they may have come from the same little free library. So this is a library that I do visit from time to time because it's relatively nearby to my house, and I happen to be around the area where it is, so I thought I'll just pop in and see if they've got anything new, and they did. It was pouring with rain as well. Anyway, I was able to pick up a copy of The Shipping News, which I've just read another book by this author, which is Brokeback Mountain, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought, and The Shipping News is her most well-known book that she's written. And so I thought I'll give it a go and see if I like it. So let me tell you about it. Coyle is a hapless, hopeless hack journalist living and working in New York. When his no-good wife is killed in a spectacular road accident, Coyle heads for the land of his forefathers, the remotest corner of far-flung Newfoundland, with the aunt and his delinquent daughters, Bunny and Sunshine, in tow. Coyle finds himself a part of an unfolding, exhilarating Atlantic drama. The Shipping News is an irresistible comedy of human life and possibility. Interesting. So, thought I'd give it a go. The other book that I got possibly from the same trip and from the same little free library is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I have heard nothing but bad things about this book, so you may be wondering why I have picked it up. The premise of it sounds really interesting, and I thought to myself, well, it's free, so if I hate it, like other people have hated it, then I'm not going to feel bad about putting it into someone else's little free library when I swap it for something that I am going to enjoy. So basically that was my thinking on it. I thought I'll give it a go. If I hate it, I'll DNF it, and then I'll just pass it on to someone else. So that's why I picked it up, The Maidens. But for anyone who somehow has managed to miss all of this, because this book only came out last year, I want to say, possibly 2021 or possibly 2020. 2021. So this is like a pretty new book, but yeah, lots of people have absolutely hated it. Not Stephen Fry, though. He calls it a great triumph, and Lucy Foley calls it utterly compulsive. So there you go. But here is what happens. St. Christopher's College, Cambridge, is a closed world to most. For Mariana Andros, a group therapist struggling through her private grief, it's where she met her late husband. For her niece Zoe, it's the tragic scene of her best friend's murder. As memory and mystery entangle Mariana, she finds a society full of secrets, which has been shocked to its core by the murder of one of its own. Because behind its idyllic beauty is a web of jealousy and rage, which emanates from an exclusive set of students known only as the Maidens, a group under the sinister influence of the enigmatic Professor Edward Fosker. a man who seems to know more than anyone about the murders and the victims, and the man who will become the prime suspect in Mariana's investigation, an obsession which will unravel everything. So it does sound interesting, but yeah, I've heard there are some plot holes and points at which you can't really suspend your disbelief when you're reading the story. So I'm not going in with high hopes, but maybe that will be a good thing, because maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Who knows? So that is The Maidens. So those were my 4 that I picked up at Little Free Libraries. I mentioned also that I had a gift from my cats. So occasionally my cats will leave little wrapped up gifts for me. And unlike other cats who might leave, you know, half a dead bird or something like that for their owners, I get books, which is nice. So this is called More Than a Muse, Creative Partnerships That Sold Talented Women Short by Katie McCabe. Now, I don't know anything about this book other than what I've read on the blurb, and I had a quick look at the list of women. I don't know any of them. So I'm really interested to find out about their lives. So some of them are, I think they're mostly in the arts, but it's a variety of different forms as well. So, you know, some visual artists, some film artists, musicians, and so on. So sculptors, etc., etc. So I'm really interested to get to this. So basically, it from the blurb, I won't read the whole blurb out to you, but basically this book is going to be sort of looking at the romantic partnerships that they had with their well-known partners, and how those sort of overshadowed their own work. And perhaps I'll get to know some artists and so on that I might want to look at some more of their work from. So anyway, it looks really interesting. So I'm keen to get to this at some point and learn all about these fascinating women. Then we come on to the books that I purchased for myself. So 2 of them were online purchases that just happened to arrive in the last couple of days. And then 2 of them were from a book shopping, an impromptu book shopping experience that I had with my friend Renee. Hi, Renee. We did a bit of shopping and I purchased some books. So we'll talk about those as well. So let's talk about the ones that arrived in the mail first. So this is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. And I saw someone on Instagram, I can't remember who, had posted just a picture of this book. I don't remember if they talked about the book, but they just showed the picture and it just looked interesting. The title sounded interesting to me, so I went and looked it up, and then basically impulse purchased it. So this is let me tell you about it. So New York is slipping from Cleo's grasp. Sure, she's at a different party every other night, but she barely knows anyone. Then she meets Frank, 20 years older. Frank's life is full of all the success and excess that Cleo's lacks. He offers her the chance to be happy and the opportunity to apply for a green card. She offers him a life imbued with beauty and art, and hopefully a reason to cut back on his drinking. They are everything each other needs right now. Cleo and Frank run headfirst into a romance that neither of them can quite keep up with, that reshapes their lives and the lives of those around them. Whether that's Cleo's best friend struggling to embrace his gender identity in the wake of her marriage, or Frank's financially dependent sister arranging sugar daddy dates after being cut off. Cleopatra and Frankenstein is an astounding and painfully relatable debut novel about the spontaneous decisions that shape our entire lives and those imperfect relationships born of unexpectedly perfect evenings. So it just sounded really interesting, so I thought I'd give it a try. So that's that one. This one I'm very, very excited for, and I have read the first book in this series called The Tea Dragon Society, and loved it, and so I was very excited to get the next one, The Tea Dragon Festival. So basically there are 3 that are available. I can't remember the name of the third one. It is already available, but it's only available in hardback. So because the first one I purchased was a paperback, I basically have been waiting for these to become paperback so that I could purchase them. So this one became a paperback more recently, and so that's why I've purchased it now, and I will be purchasing the third one as well. So basically, I've spoken about this on a previous video, and I will leave the card to that video up above, so that if you want to learn more about this series, you can. But essentially, this sort of follows on from the first one, the Tea Dragon Society, which was absolutely beautiful. It contained it was a very wholesome sort of read. It's a graphic novel, and I believe this just sort of follows on from possibly with the same characters, but actually now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering whether they might they may be the same or they may be different. I can't quite say. Eric and Hezekiel were in the first one, but I can't remember if Rin is the name of the main character. I'll have to have a look at my first one, at the Tea Dragon Society, and have a look at that. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I'll probably get to this one quite soon, I think. Possibly even take it away with me on a holiday, which is coming up very soon, so we'll see. So that's that one. Then I've got the two books that I purchased while I was out sort of impromptu book shopping. So the first one is called Eliza Vanda's Button Box by Emily Rodda. Emily Rodda is a really prolific Australian kids author here in Australia, and I haven't seen anything recently from her for the last couple of years, I think, but she's had a lot of really successful series that she's written that have been quite loved, and that's from my childhood through to the present day. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So I'll read you the premise of this one that made me pick it up. Buttons 3 attend to me, take me where I want to be. No one saw Eliza Vanda arrive in Tidgy Bay that rainy winter afternoon. The sign advertising cabins for rent was almost hidden by a pile of builder's rubble, but Eliza Vanda didn't seem at all put out by the mess. "This is a nice little pocket," she said. "It should suit us very well." Life hasn't been much fun for Millie Dines lately. There seems to be problems everywhere she looks. She's always loved her home in Tidgy Bay, but at the moment she wishes she was anywhere else. Then Eliza Vanda turns up and magic comes with her. A sparkling new fantasy adventure from multi-award-winning author Emily Rodda. So it just looks really beautiful. That the cover is what made me pick it up to begin with. Then seeing Emily Rodda's name on the cover and then reading the premise for it in the blurb at the back just made me want to read this straight away. So I'm probably going to get to this one quite soon too. It's a children's book, so you can see the writing is quite spaced. Even though it's fairly thick for a children's book, let me see how many pages the story is. 271 pages. There's not that much text on each page, so it should be a relatively quick read. And the last book that I picked up on that same trip was Archie 100, A Century of the Archibald Prize. So at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, which is in Sydney where I live, each year they hold an art prize, a portrait prize called the Archibald, and it's something that I have gone to almost every year. I didn't get to it last year because of COVID. I can't remember if I went to the one the year before. I'd have to look at what the portraits were for that year to know for sure. But I believe last year was the 100th anniversary of that prize, and they brought this book out. So 2021. Which was the year I didn't go. This is basically just kind of talking about the history of the prize, and then we're going to be looking at some of the artworks that have been features of that prize, and it's going to talk about those artworks. And actually, this is interesting. This is by Nora Hayson, this artwork. Who is one of my favorite artists. So there you go. So there's lots and lots of visuals in this one, and they're going to be talking about some of those sort of interesting portraits that sort of either were beloved at the time, or perhaps have come more to light in more recent days, and then also kind of talking about ones that were a little bit controversial and so on as well. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one, because I do love to read about art, particularly Australian art, particularly I love this portrait prize, so I love to go to the exhibition of it each year. So I'm really, really excited to get to this and to see what this year brings as well for that prize. All right, well, that's it for my books for this haul. So we've got all my new ones that I purchased. We've got my present, and we've got four books that came from little free libraries. So there it is. So have you read any of these? I'd love to hear your thoughts about them if you have. Should I be pushing some of these to the top of my TBR? Are there ones that you absolutely hated? Do you have a controversial opinion about the Maidens? Did you actually like it? Whereas so many people online have been slamming it, saying it's terrible. Maybe you really enjoyed it. I'd be very keen to hear your thoughts about any of these. And I look forward to telling you about them as I read them as well. Bye for now from Kelly.